Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
We're doing
Hi,
great.
Matt.
And
Hey, Jim.
there's Jim.
Nice
Hey,
to.
Jim.
Sorry, was the show better when I wasn't here, Matt?
Be honest.
I mean, that's an easy question.
That's hurtful.
Easy question.
That's hurtful, man.
Yeah, Kat wanted to know, and I think he didn't want to ask the question, but did you
I would have
happen?
asked.
Oh, okay, sorry. He wanted to know
go
if
ahead.
you saw what should be an Emmy award-winning report where he actually put toothpaste on his nose and he wore a floppy hat and he interviewed, I think, T.J. McFarland
Correct.
by the pool in Miami.
I did see a picture of it on Twitter. I didn't watch it, of course. Why would I do that? But I did see the picture, and I'm surprised he made it out of that hotel without getting arrested. So I didn't follow up on what exactly was going on. I just kind of scrolled through and thought, oh, there's Jim. He looks ridiculous, and kept moving.
You see, that was not the design of the picture I tweeted out. It was a promotional thing to entice you to tune into the pregame show where the entire interview ran with T.J. McFarland. Didn't work.
Yeah, like I said, I just scrolled right through.
Okay, so last week, again, we had Matt on Monday. I believe we had Kat on Tuesday, where then Matt, pretty interesting story because Kat goes out to dinner in Miami with Danny Mac, and they went to the restaurant. Are you familiar with Salt Bae, the guy that salts the meat, and he's
Yeah,
famous?
I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? Matt Holliday knows Salt Bae.
Everyone
Well,
does.
I don't know him. I'm familiar with. I've heard of the phenomenon of that. I don't, like I said, I don't know him. I'm not sure that I've ever watched his work, but I do know what that is. Doesn't he? I mean, was he there, Jim?
Yeah. So I must live in a bubble because it was an amazing thing.
You're old.
We go there, and in the aftermath, we're talking about it because we started to realize probably the day after we ate there, that this guy was a famous guy. So we were with Danny Mac and Brian McCann, who's one of our tech guys, out to dinner.
Not the catcher.
What's that?
Not the catcher.
Not the catcher, different one. The catcher is superstar, according to Charlie Marlowe. So I guess Brian McCann told me after, when we walked in, the hostess said, "Oh, the chef is in tonight, and he'll be taking care of you." And and Brian McCann was like, "Oh, okay, great. We figured there'd be a chef. We didn't understand." So apparently this guy has two restaurants. He's not there all the time. And sometimes he has like stand-ins for him and doing his spiel. But anyway, he was at our place. And Matt, I ordered a steak, and I was the only one that got like a chop or a cut or whatever. So this guy comes over. They put this giant platter, not in front of me, but on the table where no one was seated. And we're talking. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but I'm going to pull this over and start eating it unless something happens soon. And I had seen this little guy wearing a tight T-shirt, walking around like he was the big guy, like kind of a caricature, but I figured he must be the owner. I had no idea who he was. And then we look up on the wall, there's like a mural of him. So we still didn't know what was going on. Then suddenly, here comes this guy chanting and throwing salt, and he cuts up the steak and everything. And then we realized in the aftermath, when I got home, I told my wife about this place we ate, and I was FaceTime with my wife and Tyler, my son, and Tyler's like, "Wait a minute, that's Salt Bae," and we were like, "Who is?" My wife didn't know, I didn't know, and Danny Mac didn't know, and McCann didn't know. Everyone else in the world knows who Salt Bae is.
Yeah, including me. Yep.
That's unbelievable.
So you guys, how did you end up there?
Brian, it was near the hotel, so. You know, I like to eat early. So does Danny Mac because we're like two old souls. So Brian McCann said he Googled some places he wants to try this. And it was like literally like 2 blocks from the hotel. So we walked in, didn't need a reservation because it was early, I guess. But I got to tell you, the prices were like through the roof. There was like a $3,000 steak on there. There was a cheeseburger said wrapped in gold for $500. And then Danny Mac said, "Hey, this is on me, guys," and it was a very welcome thing to hear, Matt. So Danny Mac paid. Thank you, Danny Mac.
Wow, times have changed. You're more in the high roller district. I mean, you used to just kind of settle in with the local fast food. Now you're you're eating with Salt Bae.
Well,
I mean, Jim, you really, I mean, things have changed since I last was a player in St. Louis. You've really evolved.
I'm a grown up. I'm a grown up
Yeah,
now.
good for you.
At age
You've got
15.
the right friends.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
So, Matt, before we get to the Cardinals, we were talking with you last week. Some big weekends. You got at Texas coming up for Oklahoma State. You just had the series versus TCU, and I was wondering. So you got Wichita tomorrow. I'm not real familiar with the geography of Stillwater, Wichita. Can you drive there day of, or is that pretty far?
Yeah. No, 2 hours.
Okay.
So it'll be a day of. I'm not sure. I think tomorrow is senior day for Jackson, so I'm trying to figure out if I may just stay here and go to my son's senior day festivities. But yeah, Wichita is an easy drive. 2 hours straight up I-35, and so it's a day of type of situation.
Okay, so Matt Holliday, we had your buddy Matt Adams in studio from 8 to 9 o'clock. Nate, do we have this audio?
Y'all have a studio?
We have a.
We
I'll
do.
tell you what. If
We
you're
do.
ever in town, maybe for Cardinals Hall of Fame or this or that, you can always come in for an hour or all three. And we had Matt Adams, and we said big city. We always try to get people to kind of poke you and rip on you, and nobody ever does it.
Because they're
Travis
afraid.
Ford,
They're afraid.
big city. Nobody will say a bad thing about Matt Holliday. They're all afraid of you. So here's Big City's question to you.
I want to know what it's like for him being able to have Ethan and Jackson play on the same high school team, but also to see like Jackson's status climb on the draft boards. I think I've been following him, and he's having a hell of a year, and his draft stock is rose significantly.
There you go, Big City.
So that's the question you want me to answer? Is that what we're doing?
Please, yes.
Wow.
What a show.
You know, it's been really cool to see them play together, and it's been a little bit strange just in how fast it's happened. You know, the fact that Jackson's a senior and he's playing some of his last high school games is a little bit crazy, but it's been really cool having them on the same team, and they balance each other out really well as far as personalities go. Jackson's pretty serious and pretty he's pretty doesn't show a lot of emotion and is very much even keel. And Ethan is the life of the party, and he's dancing on the field, and he wears his emotions on the sleeve, and he says bad words when he strikes out, and he looks at the umpire, and he's kind of on the other end. So it's been a nice little balance where each of them are balancing out each other pretty well. So it's been fun to watch, just from a dad getting to watch his boys play together and just watch them, kind of how much they love it, and playing together has been cool. But Jackson has had a really good spring, and it's been really fun for him to have a really good spring and for all this draft attention, and he's handled it really well, and he's such a good kid. He just takes it in stride and kind of chalks it up to the fact that he just likes to play and practice, and whatever happens. He's got really good options, whether he ends up signing or going to college. He's in a really good spot, and so it has been fun to watch, and he is getting a lot of attention, and there's teams and general managers and scouting directors and in here watching everything he does. So he has every game, there's 15 to 25 scouts of some sort watching everything he does, and cameras set up, videoing him, and it is crazy how much, I guess, research, or how much you got scouts following the little manager high school girls to their cars, asking them what they think of Jackson Holliday, what kind of person is he, and it's calling the principal, which he goes online school, so I don't know if the principal even knows who he is, but it's interesting to see kind of all the research, and it's been a pretty interesting spring so far.
Yeah, I saw that tweet from, I guess it's Joe Doyle, who's director MLB Draft Prospects Live, and you retweeted it. So I've heard of that kid. Andrew Jones's kid, Drew Jones, is out there as potentially the number one pick, but is Jackson starting to be talked about as a potential number one pick?
Yeah, Drew Jones is a really good player. I think the Orioles have been here more lately. Their general manager was here for a couple days and watched Jackson, and so I think if they weren't considering at least throwing his name into the mix, I don't think the general manager would have spent 2 days in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So I don't know. We're not quite. I don't think we're quite far enough along to know exactly what the teams are considering or what it's going to come down to. So I don't know what all goes into that, but I do know that the teams that are picking in the top of the draft are bearing down on him pretty good. There's a lot of people coming in to watch him, and being in the baseball world, I know who a lot of these people are that are coming in and getting a chance to see these people. And Alan Trammell's coming in to watch him on Tuesday and Wednesday, I think, this week, and talked to Michael Young, who was going to come watch him. And so there's some people coming to watch him. I'm really happy for him that he's doing so well, that he's getting this kind of attention.
All right, I'm back, so I ask awful questions, so this might be one of them.
Yep.
But it's a dad question. It's a dad question. So which is more nerve-wracking? When you were in situations like your son is in now, where people are looking for you, maybe a big moment in a game. For you, was it more nerve-wracking being in those moments, or is it more nerve-wracking watching your son deal with those?
Oh, to me, it's not really even close. I mean, it's more nerve-wracking watching your kids, because you just want, how bad they want it, and how it means a lot to them to do well. And so it's more, and as a parent, there's nothing you can do. At least when you're playing and you're part of it, you have some sort of control of the outcome. When you're a parent, you just want them. To me, it's not about like I want him to do well because I want him to get drafted high. It's more about I want him to do well because I know it means a lot to him, and he wants to do well for his team, and so I think it's to me it's not close. I mean, how do you feel, Jim? I know that when you got a spot coming to you, you got a big middle of the inning situation, or is that when Tyler's up to bat in a big spot? Like, what about you? Is it the same kind of thing?
You're probably much more high tech than me, but there's an app called Game Changer. I know.
Yeah, I know about it. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, honestly, like there are times if my kid's playing and I'm in another city, I'm on that Game Changer app, following his game, his at bats. You almost forget that you have to do a hidden game because you're so locked in. It's not even close. When your kid's like at the plate or doing something like that, it's unbelievable how all of a sudden you realize, like, I'm nervous as heck here. I don't remember being nervous for other stuff. It's kind of, and it was a pretty good question, wasn't it?
Oh, man, you killed it. You are an Emmy-winning journalist. I mean. And I'm sure when they cut to you on that spot in the middle of the inning, you're ready. I mean, you just kind of jump right back into I'm going to kill this mode, and there you go.
See, and he should have seen the interview I did in the floppy hat, because that was real journalism. You don't get that anymore.
Still available? Is there still somewhere I can find that?
You can go online. You can go to Bally Sports Midwest and scroll through, and you'll find it, and you'll be wildly entertained and impressed, I'm quite sure.
Oh, well, if I've got nothing else going on, and I might try to find that.
Okay, so you're talking about the app for your kid. Now Matt Holliday's kid could be the number one pick. So this is a different story. But I'm now seeing this with my friends. So my daughter's only 4. She's playing t-ball. But I have buddies whose kids are older. And in the group chats, they're sending me their box scores for 8-year-old baseball. Like back in the day, I can't even believe there's a website. It's okay, my kid went 3 for 3 with 2 RBIs.
Oh, it's Game Changer. It's live, real time. You can watch your kid, not video, but
I know. I get that, but that's a little too much for me. Even if your kid's good, just the bragging about your kid in your group text of your box scores, to me, that's a little too much.
It's not about bragging, honestly. If you're not home, and you want to follow your kid, like, it's a great thing.
No, I'm saying
he's
in the
saying
group
the
text.
After, afterward of taking some sort of screenshotting the Game Changer box score of your son going 2 for 4 and send it to your buddies. That's probably a bit much, Charlie. I would agree. It is a changed world as far as access and what moms are willing to do. You've got you've got these apps now where these kids that are in coach pitch come up to bat, and they bring these speakers and it's like now batting, and then they've got their this app where they've got this announcer announcing these kids and then playing their walkout song, and they're like 7, and I'm like, it's like the baby, and I'm like, there's something wrong with this.
Yeah, and the truth is, your kids will be professional baseball players. Most kids will not. And I got to tell you, in certain leagues, like Tyler's in one of those now, I think a lot of the parents think their kids are going to be pros. Now, they could end up being pros. I'm not trying to take that dream away, but I think sometimes parents lose sight of the fact that maybe that won't happen for the kid.
Yeah. Yeah, you should hit them with the numbers, Jim. It's not a high percentage. So, being in the industry, maybe you should just take a flyer over and hand them the percentages of their kid, particularly the ones that aren't good, and just make sure they're
that was a shot of my that better not be a shot of my kid. No, well, you know what I'm telling my kid though.
Jim,
if that doesn't work,
Jim, don't be. I wasn't talking about
right.
your son.
All right.
Jeez,
I know your
Cat.
genetics.
I know he is struggling with the new league, but I tell my kid, if you can't be a player, you can always be a player agent. So you got to hit the books.
Mm-hmm.
That's smart,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, or a sideline reporter. I mean, you've done a pretty good job, made a nice living doing some reporting and this kick-ass radio show,
Okay. So earlier in the show, Matt Holliday, we were talking about, so I went to Nashville for the weekend. Fun trip. It was my nephew's.
Humble brag. Nice.
Well, no. You'll,
taking vacations, Charlie? All right. Go
A lot
ahead.
of disposable income up in there.
First of all, no, I think Matt might appreciate this. It was one night, drove up after the show on Friday. I couldn't take the show off because Cat's gone half the time.
Right.
Stayed one night.
We're already grousing about that.
Went to a 2-year-old's birthday party, which was real fun. But I drove home Saturday night because as a coach, I was the head coach. I'm the head coach of T-ball. I wanted to be back for the T-ball game, which of course got rained out anyway. Here's my question though. I got a speeding ticket. I don't think I should have gotten the speeding ticket, but we don't have to get into that. Did you ever in your career, were you ever pulled over, maybe St. Louis, maybe Colorado, maybe around Stillwater? Maybe you're going just a little too fast, but then the cop recognized this
What are you
is
asking
Matt
Matt Holliday about his arrest record now?
No, I'm saying, did he
How
ever?
dare
I
you?
haven't been arrested. No. For the record, I've never been arrested. I have gotten a ticket. We were driving actually, I didn't get a ticket. We were driving somewhere from St. Louis. We might have been driving to Chicago on an off day, and I got pulled over by a Cubs fan cop, but ended up sending him tickets and got out of the ticket. So he got tickets to the Cubs-Cardinals game, and I got out of the ticket. I don't think I was going that fast, maybe like an 80 and a 65, something like that. But yes, I have been pulled over by a Cubs fan who knew who I was, but we worked it out. I talked to him nice, maybe a ticket or two, and ended up getting a warning instead. So,
Pretty good. That's pretty
Oh,
good.
So,
Yeah.
so here was my question, and we went too long on it
I
earlier.
thought that was the question.
Well,
Go ahead.
I have a follow-up now. If you're driving through a work zone
Oh, boy.
at night, but there's no workers present, do you actually think that you should have to go the work zone speed limit, or are you assuming that you can go normal speed? There's no workers anywhere. It's Saturday night. I'm totally safe. There's like a couple barrels, but there's no workers.
The road has been altered because of the work zone, so perhaps that factors into it. But go ahead, answer.
I'm on the board. If there's nobody out there, like if there's no people, I mean, barring the lane going to like half its existing side and you're kind of going like on a bridge or something, I'm with you. I do think that if it's a nighttime work zone and there's no people around, that they should be more lenient with the work zone speed limit. So
Thank you.
I could see your side on that one. Yes.
Let's clarify, though. Even though it's posted what the speed limit is, Charlie on his own made a decision that sign was not applicable for him and that he could do the speed that he wanted to do.
Do you ever speed, Jim? Do you ever go over the speed
No,
limit?
sir, I'm a rule follower.
So you stay right at the old 55 and a 55?
No, actually what I said was if you're like 7-8 miles over the speed limit, cops will let you pass, and they should let you pass. So you can speed a little bit. But Charlie was
So
talking about
it's all about judgment, the extent of how much you can go over the law.
right.
Right.
But Charlie was
but you're
talking
still
about
breaking the law, but it's the extent of breaking the law.
Exactly.
So Jim, you're willing to break the law. You're just not willing to break it to the extreme that Charlie is.
what I'm saying is I think you can bend the law a little bit. Now, what
Gotcha.
Charlie was doing was talking about irresponsibly and recklessly just bombing through a work zone where there were orange cones and the road wasn't safe to travel at that speed. And Charlie on his own.
How much of the speed were we going, Charlie?
So
104.
no, what Matt just said is exactly what I was doing. I actually don't speed, but I set my cruise usually. I was in a 70, so I set my cruise for 79. The cop got me at 78, so I wasn't going crazy. I was going what I thought was 8 to 9 miles per hour over the said speed limit because I don't feel like cops.
Jim said okay. Yeah, which Jim said was okay.
Exactly, except for this was a 55 because it was a work zone,
because
even
the,
though
because
no
the
one was
road
working.
layout the road layout had been altered.
Did he have any compassion for you whatsoever?
By the way, the most dangerous part of this whole operation wasn't the cones. It was how close the cop was with his lights off, just picking off tourists for revenue for his little southern Illinois town down there, 2 hours south.
I don't like the anti-police
St.
sentiments
Louis.
that's being spread
I
on
love
this
police.
show.
Wow.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I love police. This was let's make some revenue off some tourists.
This seemed like a trap. Yes.
I don't like it when Charlie and Matt are aligned. I don't like that at all.
We agree pretty often. What was the last time he agreed with me about something? And then you tried,
and you're pointing at me like I remember.
You tried to convince him otherwise at the end. What was that about? Was it about? It was the slap. It was Chris Rock and Will Smith, and he said he had nothing wrong with either side of it. And then you kept trying to coerce him to change his mind.
Which side were you on that one, Jim?
I don't even remember what we're talking about.
It was opposite of Charlie. Whatever. You're just the opposite side guy, so you just take the opposite side for the argument's sake.
Listen, I'm true to myself on this show, and I just try to be entertaining and entertaining while being myself. I think you know that, man.
Yeah, always.
Well, I'll tell you what. How about we ask?
So, did you get a ticket? Like, what was the ticket? How much
get this.
did you get?
Oh, get this. It wasn't just a little ticket. It was $164 because he got me for 78 in a 55.
And he wasn't cool about it at all.
He was nice, but he wasn't going to let me off. I couldn't give him any Cubs tickets.
Well, you didn't give him like, hey, I'll bring you on the show and you can push Southern Illinois said town.
I should have played that card. I don't think this guy had any idea. This is like 2.5 hours. This is right after the Kentucky border. I mean, Kentucky.
I
boom,
just hope you were
Illinois.
respectful.
I'm always respectful.
Okay, I believe that.
Why would I be disrespectful?
Because you were mad.
Because $168.
Yeah, that's why. Because
Right.
you got an expensive ticket and you felt like it was unjust.
It
Right?
was unjust.
This guy's just doing his job, buddy.
All right. How about this, Matt Holliday? Final question. What do you think of those birds? The Cardinals.
Well, I think in general it was a pretty good road trip. I mean, I think that when you go into Cincinnati, you'd have liked to got that sweep. But in general, I think when you go on a 10-day road trip, you feel pretty good about, a split in Milwaukee, winning the series, and in Miami and Cincinnati. I think all in all, you feel pretty good about it. But like I said, those are the ones where you kind of have that sweep at your fingertips against the Reds. They've lost, 11 in a row, 9 in a row. So they had a rookie pitcher on the mound. While he's talented, it's you feel like you're in a pretty good spot with Waino going up against a rookie, and so that one, I think stings probably. If you asked the guys, they probably feel like maybe that's got kind of slipped away. But in general, I think it's a good road trip, and now you come home to a big challenge. The Mets are playing really well. They have really good starting pitching, so it'll be a challenge. The hitters are. They're in kind of a challenging stretch right here. Miami's got really good. Those starters are good, and obviously Milwaukee's got really good pitching, and so it's another challenge coming at them. So I think they're playing well, though. I mean, like I said, you're always going to have guys in the lineup that you kind of point to and say, wow, he's struggling, he needs to get going, but that's kind of the way it is. You'll be in August and it'll be the same, but the numbers are a little bit skewed right now just because of the lack of at bats. But in general, I think they're playing pretty well, and it'll be interesting to see, how Matt fares against his old team and some of these guys, that are coming up in the rotation against this. I think the Mets are probably a playoff team as you look, into the future.
So, Matt, we have both Frank Cusimano and Andy Van Slyke, and they're kind of standing over us, wanting us to end the show. Matt Holliday, anything you want to ask Matt Holliday, Andy Van Slyke?
What is his best celebration?
For after a homer?
Yeah.
Best celebration. This is from Andy Van Slyke, Matt. So now this is Frank's show, so it's good.
That's why I asked.
Okay, so Andy Van Slyke asked Matt Holliday.
So we're allowed to go over a little.
We're good to go now.
Because Van Slyke asked the question.
Van Slyke said it's cool.
All right.
What's your best celebration after a homer, Matt?
That I did or that I've seen?
That he did or that he's seen?
No, that he personally.
That you did personally, Matt.
He was so self-absorbed, I just want to know.
He said you're so self-absorbed that he wants to know what you did because you're such a me guy.
There's only a couple times where you feel like that you need, I remember, I think we've even talked about it. The one where Matt Cain hit me in the neck, my first at bat, and I felt like there was some intent behind it, and I felt like it was on purpose. And then my next at bat, I hit the ball as far as I possibly could, like the one dream scenario where you're trying to hit it as far as you can, you swing as hard as you can, and you actually connect and hit it in Coors Field up by the Jumbotron. And that was probably the most, walked 6 steps, and flipped the bat a little bit. And then he yelled at me to run, and then I yelled back at him, and we sort of yelled at each other around the bases. So that was probably the most egregious, I don't know, pimp job or whatever you want to call it of my career. I always was very respectful and always the humility of having to take another at bat in 2 innings always kept me from getting too excited about anything that I did personally. So that probably was, and then obviously the last home run I hit in St. Louis was emotional in the fact that I had my teammates waiting for me at home plate and just kind of the crowd and that whole moment.
That was different, though. That wasn't pimping anything. That was emotion. That was raw emotion.
I know. I'm just telling you. I think it's part of the question. I think it's valid in Andy's question. And so those two would probably stand out as ones that I remember. Most of the other ones were probably very similar to each other. But those two stand out maybe as outliers.
Pretty good.
Love it. All right, both Frank and Andy are now. They're hawking me. They're right over me.
Frankie's ticked.
Frankie's mad.
Ticked.
We gotta go. Matt, I'll tell you what, maybe next week we call you at 9:15. We go 45 minutes. I know you love being on the show. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, you guys actually, you found a little sweet spot where I have nothing going on. So.
Well, honestly, if you want to just hang on, I bet you Andy Van Slyke and Frank, you could just start the show with them.
We don't share our guests
at 10 o'clock.
We don't share our guests.
Well,
I thought we were sponsored segment, so I don't want to ruin the sponsorship.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
See you.
All right, that's Matt Holliday.